I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30 PM. Are there any declarations of interest? I can't see for the people that are on. I got, no. But we're blank here, just so you know. Okay, there are none. Adoption of agenda. I got a mover, Councillor DeRose, and a seconder, Councillor Kenny, to second the motion to adopt the agenda. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. I'm gonna need to see the people that are offline because I can't see if their hands are up, if they're voting. Can we put gallery view? Okay, that's good. Okay, discussion reports. PDS 2022-35, official plan amendment 15 for Rolling Meadows, file number D091-2020, and I'll turn this over to Jason Simpson, our Chief Building Official. Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation of this report is that the official plan amendment number 15 for Rolling Meadows, file number D09-01-2020, be approved without further need for a public meeting. That concludes the recommendation of this report.
Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? I have Councillor Decker, a mover, and Councillor Wilson, a seconder. Are there any questions for Jason? Go ahead, Councillor Longo. I can't hear you. Go ahead. You're up.
Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Simpson. So what we're doing here is we're changing the commercial space that was discussed previously to more residential.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'd like to defer that question to Richard Van Azen, who is here to assist us.
Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you, Your Worship. In response to that question, we're implementing what OPA 15 was originally indicated relating to a number of things. It would be the commercial space, some of the commercial spaces that were identified. There's also some institutional spaces that were readdressed, and it relates to not only phases 14 and 16 of the draft plan, but also into future phases as well. The goal of the discussions that we had with the applicant was to reintroduce commercial space in the south quadrant, south of Uppers Lane, and we are going to be looking at that as part of an official plan amendment and zoning for the future phases of 17 to 21, so that there will be an addition of additional commercial space considered as part of an amendment, future amendment for future phases.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So one final question. Do we
Yep.
have any guarantee that the amount of commercial space will remain at least the same or be more than originally planned?
We can have that discussion as part of our consideration of the amendment, and certainly the area that would be allowed to be encompassed for commercial purposes would be much greater than what's been taken away.
Okay, but do we know for a fact that we'll have more? Do we know that or not?
Well, we will know that as the application goes through. The consideration, we can make that a consideration for as we look for approval of that amendment and those future phases.
Councillor Longo,
Okay.
does that answer your question?
I just want to, through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to know if we do have a guarantee that the commercial space will in fact remain the same or be greater? Or is it a gentleman's agreement at this point?
It's an understanding that we will bring forward as part of our consideration of that application.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, I had a mover, Councillor Decker, and a seconder, Councillor Wilson. All those in favor? Opposed? You get that? Yeah. That is carried. PDS 2022-36, Rolling Meadows Phase 16 Plan of Subdivision and Subdivision Agreement. Again, I'll turn this over to Jason Simpson, Chief Building Official. Go ahead, Jason.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the recommendations of this report are, one, that the final plan of subdivision for the Rolling Meadows Phase 16 subdivision, Park Township Lot 31, Thorold, being parts 1 to 6, on Plan 59R17198, City of Thorold, be approved. And recommendation 2, that the necessary bylaw authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute the subdivision agreement be prepared and presented to council for consideration. That concludes the recommendations of this report.
Okay, and before I open the floor for questions, can I get a mover and a seconder for that report? I got a mover, Councillor Neal, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence. And now I'll open the floor for questions. Are there any questions to the presenter, Jason Simpson? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS 2022-94 BIA and Knights of Columbus in-kind request. And I'll ask Jeff Holman, our Director of Public Works and Community Services, to move to bring that report to the floor. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is consideration for 2 special event permits that are time sensitive. Recommendation is a report PWCS 2022-94 dated August 30th, 2022, respecting Business Improvement Area and Knights of Columbus in-kind request be received, and the following recommendations be approved. 1, that the request from the BIA to hold a welcome event in downtown Thorold on September 17th, 2022 be approved. 2, that the BIA's request for in-kind services to support the welcome event be approved. 3, that the Knights of Columbus request for in-kind services to support their Harvest Fest on Saturday, September 10th and Sunday, September 11th, 2022 be approved. And 4, that the city's expenses for these events, $2,485 for the BIA welcome event and $940 for the Knights of Columbus Harvest Fest be approved as a general budget overrun.
Okay, and can I get a mover and seconder for that report? I've got a mover, Councillor Decker, and a seconder, Councillor Neal. And now I'll open that floor for questions regarding that report. Go ahead, Councillor Kenny.
First of all, I am going to support it. Just when you say in kind, does that mean our people will be working, setting up tables or roadblocks, or what's the in kind work?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. It'll be staff time and materials associated with the event.
So
it'll be moving tables, barricades, things like that.
Won't be any actual cash that we're giving
No
them?
cash, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I had seen Councillor DeRose had his hand up. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was going to ask something similar. I thought it was going to be, I thought it was in dollar figure for in kind. I'm supportive, so that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there any other questions regarding this? Seeing none? Did I get a mover and a seconder for that? Yes, I did. I had it. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. CCC 2022-01 appointment bylaw. And I'll turn this over to our city clerk, Matthew Trenham, to present this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an addendum item that came out this afternoon. It is just a memo advising that there's been a bylaw appended, also an addendum to this meeting. That is a revision to the appointment bylaw. We have a new bylaw officer that started a little while back, and this is just properly appointing them to the position.
Okay. Can I get a mover and a seconder for this? I got Counselor Wilson, and I have Counselor Sentence as a seconder. Are there any questions regarding this? Go ahead, Counselor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question to the city clerk. It mentions the removal of names and addition of names, and the names have been marked in bold and italics. Is there another form we're supposed to see, or?
Through
'Cause I only
there,
see one page.
there is a Schedule A that was sort of attached to that you should be able to see through eScribe. I can put it up on the screen if you can't see it in eScribe.
I can't see it in eScribe.
Okay, one moment.
The clerk's going to put it up, Counselor Longo.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Longo, the Appendix
Yes.
A is actually attached to bylaw 75, 2022.
Oh, that would be why, yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, it's actually appended to the bylaw itself.
Okay,
So you'd
that
have to scroll
explains it.
down.
Thank you. That's good enough.
Are you good with that, Counselor Longo?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, is there any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Before we go into closed session, I understand Counselor Neal wished to put forward a notice of motion, so I'll call on Counselor Neal. And you're gonna put this forward at our next meeting, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay,
This
go
is a
ahead.
notice of motion.
Just a notice. Go ahead.
So the notice of motion will read, I wish to provide notice that at the next regular meeting of City Council, I will bring forward a motion respecting the creation of a Battle of Beechwood Park to be located at the battle site at the corner of Davis Road and Old Thorlstone Road.
And what, is that battle of what? Say it.
Battle of Beechwoods.
Beechwood?
Beechwoods,
Okay. So you're bringing that forward at the next meeting?
that's correct.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Neal. Okay, before I ask for a mover and a seconder to go into closed session, I would like to remind you of your obligations respecting closed sessions. Those who are participating electronically in the closed session must ensure that no other person is in the location from which they are taking part in the meeting, or make appropriate arrangements so that any other persons cannot see or hear any of the confidential deliberations taking place. If this is not possible, you must withdraw from the meeting until it has reconvened in open session. Now, can I get a mover and a seconder to go, before I read it, and then I'll read the motion. I have a mover, Counselor Wilson, seconder, Counselor Decker, that we move into closed session for the purposes of receiving information of a confidential nature respecting a matter respecting a proposed disposition of land by the municipality under S 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, 30 Carlton Street North, McMillan Field, update. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Now we'll move into closed session, and they have to go out and move in on the closed session law.